Alright, hello everybody. So, doing some more work on the Hexcrawl today. I wanted to do a work in progress, give you guys a snapshot of where I'm at with this guy. Let me actually see, I just exported this. There's you guys. Yeah, the Kung Fu Hexcrawl work in progress. Well, I thought I exported it. There it is. Boom, work in progress one. So I wanted to show you guys kind of how I put all this thing together. Hello, what's this? Oh, neat. I don't care about that. So as you can see, we have a really nice hex map here. I've altered the one that I put up a couple days ago a little bit because I realized that there really weren't enough of these jungle hexes. They're supposed to be kind of encompassing this wasteland and slowly encroaching on it. And I realized as I was writing it that in addition to that, they had overgrown this whole part of the city and turned it into this kind of like jungle city hybrid. So I added a few more of those to justify the inclusion of them as in a whole set of random charts. And what I'm doing here is I'm only filling up some of these hexes with content and the rest are doing random charts. So there's a lot of them. I've got a key right after that, which right now it's blank. I'm not sure exactly how I want this to manifest. I would like, for anything that has something obvious in it, or something that's actually there, to at least have the name of the thing that's there and a page number in the document so you can reference it whenever you're playing. So if your guys start out in 9106 over here, then I want you to be able to flip over to 9106. Yeah, there we go. And I've got it arranged in a pretty logical way. Yeah, to flip over to 9106 and at least get an idea of where you can reference this. Like the key just tells you where in the document the reference is. Let me see. Right after that, I've got a selection of the terrain generators. So if you're in a given terrain type and there's nothing else there aside from that terrain, you can use these charts to generate some content for it. So for example, you're in the desert. Let's say they go on out of 9106 and they find themselves in 9109 over here. They're like, oh, there's nothing keyed in 9109. And scroll on down. You're like, okay, so it started the session there. 9109 just says desert hex. Or it'll say something along those lines. And there'll be a little bit of room. I want all these to have a little bit of room for you as a GM to be able to write some notes in there. And be like, okay, there's nothing in there. So, this is the core desert description. You can pull elements from this as you want to whenever you first describe them getting there. You can even just read this completely out loud and then just alter it a little bit for the further desert hexes they go in. But it'll be up to you to figure out exactly what you want to put in there. But there's 4 different charts. If you want there to be inhabitants, where they're at, you just roll these guys. And this is a breeder chart. So you roll 3d10 and you read each one across. So if you got like a 1, an 8, and 3, and 1 is here, they're exiles. 8, so there's, oh wait, no, there's just 2 of them. So you roll a 2d10 then. 1 and an 8 we'll go with. So we got 1, they're exiles, they're ghost nomads. These are exiled ghost nomads that are there, and there's 3d10 of them times 1/2. So there's half of 3d10 of these guys as exiles. So 3d10, divide the number by half. I personally like rounding down because it makes it seem miserable. And that's how many exiled ghost nomads that you find. What they're doing there, what their plot is, that's another tale for another day. Also, there's going to be, not a bestiary exactly, but something like a bestiary that's going to give you an idea of what ghost nomads do, what they want, what you'll find them in the middle of doing. If you want to make some terrain, again, just roll a couple of d10s here. Perhaps you'll find a rocky outcropping, a hidden oasis, and a cave that are baking with radioactivity. Or they might be petrified, desiccated, or otherwise barren and hostile. Who knows? Maybe it's a soda lake. Same thing with these features. They might have a feature in there, like a weird, huge weird device of unknown origin that mystically makes those who enter the area get lost. Oh, no. That sucks. That's one of those things that I like these about dungeon crawls too. It sucks the very first time you get there until you realize what the trick is, and then for the rest of the campaign, It's a trap you lure enemies into. One of my all-time favorite reuses of or one of my all-time favorite strategies is the reusing of traps to defeat your enemies. All right, let's see. And maybe there's a treasure on it. Let's see. How about a heavy black glass orb that is activated when worn or held, either at will or constant, as best benefits the wielder. But it malfunctions when you roll a 1 on a d10. Let's say it adds plus 2d10 to your damage. That's pretty cool to have. But it will have you gain a rank of the elemental wood imbalance when it malfunctions. That's actually kind of a fun treasure. Anyway, it's similar with the other terrain types. I have Toxic done. I have Desert done. I'm working on Ruins right now, which is the cityscape. So I've got Inhabitants. I've got Terrain. I was working on Places of Power, which wound up kind of writing themselves. I got into a really good creative state last night and filled all these chunks of this chart. I need to figure out some cool malfunctions for that, but that's what's coming up next. And then, because I want this place to feel like Old Town in Yunsuin, where you kind of go into this set of jungle that used to be town, that's all overgrown and ancient and kind of eerie. I wanted to make sure there were some cool curses and ghostly tricks you could encounter, so that'll be fun. I've also got jungle and mountain terrain, which I haven't started yet, but they're going to be similar. You've got the treasures, terrain, inhabitants, features, etc. Then the next set of this document is actually fiction, which I don't write a lot of. This is actual factual fiction, this chunk right here. I base this off a little bit of fiction that's in Legends of the Wulin, and the Fist Bastard is based on the Sword Bastard who's in what did I just hit? Oh, I don't want to. Fuck you. Also in sorry, AI threw off my groove a little bit. Anyway, Sword Bastard, who is an infamous NPC in Legends of the Wulin. So this is my take on him, the Fist Bastard. Let's see. Oh, this is actually wrong. I gave Junkyard Wolf a different ruler there. Okay, so this is a somewhat outdated document, but this is a work in progress. So a lot of times I'll just write up stuff in like a free flow state, and then later on I'll get a different idea or I'll go and edit it. But this is an interesting moment capturing this one here, because he's not the ruler of Junkyard Wolf. The Wolf King is the ruler of Junkyard Wolf, and he's just like a cult leader now. Let's see. Yeah, I like, and this is sort of based on the Sword Bastard. He read an ancient document of enlightenment and then destroyed it, so he's the only source of being able to learn it now. Which then there's a strategy that the players can now use if they want to. Here we go. I've actually got his stats right here. Boop. That's it. Those are his stats. NPCs are very easy in this system, so... Oh, and he actually has his supreme technique is one of the Apocalypse Apocrypha. One of the backers actually designed this. I liked this one so much that I gave it to one of these powerful NPCs here. Yeah, welcome to my world. One of the many amazingly cool styles in the Apocalypse Apocrypha, which I highly recommend reading if you haven't. There's some amazing stuff in there. I focused on, when I was making the Kung Fu, I had a few really good ideas for Kung Fu. There was like maybe 3 styles where I was like really creative, and the rest generally fell into 1 of 2 slots. It was either elemental control or a weapon style. So for the most part, every single faction has a weapon Kung Fu, and it's a unique weapon to them. They're the only ones who use that weapon. So I have like staff, I have heavy weapons, sword, bare hands, ranged, like all the different core weapons get like a particular style. I've got spear has a style, and then I've got either an elemental style or like a colorful style, like something that's really kind of weird and unique to them. Like the Silver Phoenix have telekinesis, the Shadow Vipers have like a demon style. So yeah, that's the kind of general template that I had for them. And I had those two, any of the cool, colorful styles are some of the best work I have in the game. The ones that are just elemental style / weapon style are a little bit, some of them have some creative elements. Like I'm really happy with the way I did the Radioactive Scorpion's range styles. It's not just like a bow style, it's a gun style, and then it turns into this weird transhumanism thing at the end. So that feels pretty unique and cool. But yeah, a lot of the stuff was just like, okay, how about you hit someone hard? How about you hit them harder? How about you hit them just so hard? You know, and I had to kind of work within some pretty limited confines of creativity. So at the end of the style, or the end of the book, though, the Apocalypse Apocrypha are all the ones that the backers made, the backer styles, which were all a joy to work on, for the record. None of them were a drag. And all of them have really, really cool ideas at the core of them, really creative ideas that I kind of had to make distinct mechanics for to have them realized. And they wind up being incredibly nifty. Some of my favorite stuff in the book is stuff I co-designed with people that paid me to make these styles. And it's really good stuff. Anyway, so Junkyard Wolf. This is the first urban crawl I'm putting together in here. There we go. So, and I was trying something new with this. I was trying to do a little more explanation, a little more like plotty stuff. I don't usually. I really try to cut down the setting elements to their absolute most basic function. Like it'll really just be like number of things here, type of thing here. Like when it comes to setting stuff, I really feel like the GM at the table is the only point of contact for the players. And I feel like most GMs have better ideas than I do. And I've been proven right in that opinion time and time again. Every single time I hear someone else running this game, any single time someone talks to me about this game, their ideas I feel are always much better than mine. So whenever I'm writing down my own setting stuff, the more detail I put into it, the more I'm just kind of giving you mediocrity, in my opinion. But I do want to give this a try because a consistent complaint I have had with a pretty significant chunk of people that play this game is that there's just kind of not enough in it. There's not enough setting to grab onto. So I might have been a little bit too brutal with my cuts there. So I'm trying to add a little bit more to this document to see how it hits. I'm young enough in this line. This is like the first major supplement this thing is, that I feel like I can be a little experimental and try some new stuff out. And if it's a flop and people complain about it, I just won't for the next one. Easy peasy. But yeah, so trying to do an urban crawl here with Junkyard Wolf. So Junkyard Wolf consists of these three hexes, and this is the stuff that's in these hexes. So there's that. This is a brief description of the city, and then over here, and this is going to be in a different place in the document, but right here I've got the ancient past of the whole Hexcrawl, the whole setting, the recent past, which tells you a little bit about all this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, currently ruled by the Fist Bastard. I need to update all that. Anyway, and then I've got some cool, interesting places that I haven't assigned a hex to yet. I'm trying to do a lot of brainstorming here. So some cool places, these are probably just going to wind up being hex descriptions. Oh, goodness. There's some cool stuff in here, too, by the way. I have the original idea for bounties came in pretty early in this design, and I've got part of these three lists done. I've got three different tier lists. Basically, I have the scrubs list, the dangerous actual bounty hunters, and the super deadly bounty hunters. I've got a bunch of suggestions from the Discord too about bounty hunters we can put on here. Some of which I have actually written up. But here's this work in progress. You can use at least the first part with the scrubs list. And then I've got Junkyard Wolf itself. So this is the actual urban crawl sheet. This is the one that this is the urban crawl template that I prepared and sold. And this is me filling it out. So I've got a couple of facts about it. I've got the different populations. The two I've detailed here the Engine Cultists and the Fist Anarchists, which I love that name. I've actually got the images of the hexes. I just copy and pasted that one. Obviously, I'm going to make this a little bit nicer if I decide to go in and this is the work in progress version. Here we go. I've got a field generator that helps me actually make fields within this. And the idea is that each one of these hexes is a large area. These are supposed to be 7 miles to a side hexes, so very, very, very big. And so this is not a small city, you know. This is a pretty decent sized city for the post-apocalypse. And the idea is that as you wander around in these different districts, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of fields that you can encounter, and in hundreds more just little places and locations. And you're meant to kind of discover and map those and play. So you can stay within this for a long time and wring a lot of play out of each one of these things. And that kind of gives them the feeling of being these huge, sprawling urban centers. So that's what that's all about. Let's see. Okay. So to kind of focus that, let's see. I think there's a discrepancy between these two things here. Yeah, I haven't gone back and actually edited this one else. So yeah, 4103. We should have a Junk Jojo, the Lazy Dragon Market, the Holy Scrapyard, and the Violence Pits. Goodness. So if I scoot back down here to 4103. Yeah, 1,000 Car Canyon. Okay. So 1,000 Car Canyon should be here. There shouldn't be any violence pits in there. That should be in the Crimson Justice Dome. Yeah, here we go. Oil Lake, Oil Derrick, Sacred Refinery, Oil Boat Harbor. Yeah, I think I abandoned these ideas. Let's see. Vehicle Caverns, the Sacred Garage, the Hidden Treasure Vault, the Trapped Catacombs. Yeah, so this is a discrepancy because I changed this between this and the Urban Crawl. This is the difficulty of working on things on different days. When your focus is split, is sometimes you'll kind of redo work you've already done. Like I changed this to being basically like a big market where the V8 cultists are. Over here is a canyon of just piles and piles of junk where the car cultists mine them for useful scraps and make their cars out of it. And then over here is Thunderdome. It's just a Thunderdome. That's what it's all about. So this is where all disputes are settled. Instead of having a judge, jury, and executioner, they just have gladiatorial combat. And it is a sport, and it is a place for rivals to settle their disputes, and it is a place to mete out justice. So I think that works reasonably well. But I think the older draft, this was a giant oil of ocean, or an ocean of oil of ocean, oil ocean zone. This was oil ocean zone, and it was very aquatic. So like you had like barges that were moving around it, and then like distant derricks that pumped it out, made it into usable barrels of oil, and it had a very different vibe. So yeah, it's an interesting little change there. And let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So I've got some stuff for these NPCs. I made a couple new NPCs. The most notable here is the Wolf King is the actual leader, the de facto leader of the whole place. Fist Bastard got demoted to just being like a cult leader. I added Princess Gas Mask, which is my favorite name for an NPC I've made so far. And Lucky Liu, who's a big fat guy, who is a good gunslinger and wants an easy life of hedonism. So you'll note that it's not completed. I don't have the relationships chart. Relationships chart I'm interested in trying out and seeing like who does what for where. And then I've got a master encounter list, which I haven't yet filled out. The master encounter list for me actually serves a very important psychological function for the GM, because like I remember very distinctly in Maze of the Blue Medusa going into that maze and having this giant D100 encounter list that stayed relatively stable no matter where you were within the dungeon. And it really made the place feel like you took all these different micro dungeons and slammed them together and got one gigantic, massive complex, and you just were shaking it constantly. And these different things were moving around in it. It made it feel tremendous and it made it feel like a place that was so big that nobody knew what was going on in any given part of it. That was really cool, and I liked that feeling of the enormity contained within a large, like a comprehensively large area, but also like a place so large that it pushed past the psychic boundaries of what you could kind of keep in your head at once. It was just too big and complicated, but it did all fit together. So the master encounter list serves that function for GMs. It's supposed to take all these different things and factions that are wandering around in here. And of course, there's going to be stretches where like 20 or 30 of these are like the same thing. That's fine. But like it's meant to make this place feel both bigger than you can really wrap your head around at once. Like there's just kind of too much going on at a given point for any person to understand it, but also like contained and structured. Like these things are all happening within the boundaries of the city. So it's meant to give it an exploratory vastness. So it's actually important. It's really important for me to get the broth right on that one. So I didn't have time whenever I was putting this together to fill that out, but that's what it's meant for. So that's going to be the next thing I do there. Let's see, and actually put in, yeah, there's actually a couple more pages at the end of that document, because I realized as I was putting it together that this wasn't enough populations and these weren't enough districts. And so at the end of it, it's just like, oh, well, maybe there's more NPCs and populations. Maybe there's more districts and more fields, you know? So should this be insufficient to realize your urban crawl, you can just supplement it with these last couple, which I'm absolutely going to do. I'm no wizard of design. I really wanted the first part of the urban crawl sheet to look, yeah, like this, like kind of cohesive with a lot going on, but also like comprehensible. You know, that was one of the huge goals of it. I think I succeeded there, although it's not complete because you really do need at least extra populations, because there's going to be more than two, right? Two is just not sufficient. But like these can be the prominent ones, you know, just an overview, whatever. Anyway, so I'm unleashing this document on you guys today, warts and all. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you that progress is being made on this. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about it was to kind of give you an idea, into the ridiculous creative process that goes into this. I am a very scattered individual. And also to kind of give you an idea of what I expect you to do with it when it's all done. And as you'll note, this is a very, very deep thing. Any one of these hexes could be the site of several arcs of your campaign, and there are hundreds of them. Some of them are denser than others. Obviously, like Junkyard Wolf here, which is this is Junkyard Wolf. Junkyard Wolf is an awesome starting place, although it's a little close to the corner of the map. For me, it really should be Radical Ink is where you start. But it's kind of whatever. You can start wherever you want to here. No hex map is so big that the players can't wander off the side of it. But I wanted to give you guys a big hex map, each with a lot of places that you can really fall into campaign time-wise. And I feel that I am succeeding in that regard. There's going to be powerful NPCs, cool treasure. This whole hex map has its own like history and backstory, and there's a bunch of like living pieces of history you can encounter. Like one of those cooler places is a volcanic caldera that is somewhere down here, and within that volcanic caldera, there are two dead figures. There's a skeleton with a magical sword pierced through his heart, and there is a statue that is holding that sword in the middle of that caldera. And the statue is formerly the owner of the sword who killed that guy, but he was turned to stone by the dude's technique as he lay dying. So you can tear the guy's fingers off and get that magic sword, or you can reverse that technique and bring the guy back to life and have this terrible villain that just gets unleashed in your setting that technically owes you a life debt. So there's a lot of stuff like that wandering around in these hexes or to be discovered in them. And I'm really looking forward to players stumbling upon it. This whole thing is meant to be something you can really sink your teeth into and give you an idea of what I envision for a Hexcrawl-based campaign in Lone Wolf Fist. So I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on the finished product, but until then, please enjoy this partially finished work in work in progress product. Yuck. Oh god, I need to delete this entire video. Anyway, see ya.